Day 777 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia staggeringly now sits on more than 450,000 military personnel losses, which represents an additional 810 in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, so 5 tanks, 12 APVs, and a whopping 48 artillery. Then we'll head across to the map now, and we'll start out in Russia, as the Maxar company has released images that show several flooded settlements in Russia's Orenburg Oblast, including the Orenburg capital itself. And I'll zoom in a bit for that one, so there we go. All of which occurred due to the dam breach in the city of Orsk from just a few days earlier. The waters have inundated the area, submerging buildings, streets, and infrastructure. The Ural River continues to surge, threatening to engulf the major city of Orenburg itself downstream from Orsk now. So the situation remains precarious, with the full extent of the damage not yet known and to be determined. Now, some additional footage reportedly also showed the Ural River waters overflowing down into Kazakhstan, for which it shares the same river to Russia. And we've now since found that just prior to the bursting of the dam in Orsk, a priest was summoned to pray at the dam just days earlier. Initially, the locals had spotted water seeping from beneath the structure and alerted the authorities. But with the requests seeming to fall on deaf ears, and in a desperation and an attempt to prevent the impending disaster, locals hauled some earth with tractors to plug the leak, but their efforts proved futile. And impressively now, there was already a number of protests in Orsk, calling out the authorities for their lack of action before and after the dam burst. But you can hardly blame the locals when the authorities and oligarchs of the construction companies called the event a mystery, but offer the excuse that perhaps some rodents chewed through the dam. No kidding. And ultimately, if the authorities refuse to pay to fix a dam, then they'll just pay a lot more later to fix a flood. Then we'll head across to the Tula Oblast of Russia, as Pantsir S-1 missiles were swiftly deployed to bolster the city's defenses against Ukrainian drone strikes, as revealed by the anti-Kremlin Atesh partisans. The rapid deployment aimed to safeguard Tula's industrial infrastructure, particularly an oil storage facility, which is said to be hastily evacuating due to insufficient air defense coverage in the region. The partisans also highlighted Russia's struggle to fully secure large cities, as Russia concentrates their air defense assets in Crimea and border regions. Then heading a bit further south, as in the dead of the night, explosions rocked the Zelenzogorsk mining and processing plant in Russia's Kursk region. The plant, a key component of Metallo Invest, the largest iron ore company in Russia, found itself under attack. Russian authorities confirmed the strike, with one official exclaiming, "Dang, that was a hit." And so the plant, renowned as a leader in the Russian mining and metallurgical industry, suffered damage in the assault. The nighttime bombardment sent shockwaves through the facility, which continues to underscore the vulnerability of Russia's critical infrastructure in the ongoing conflict. Then we head to Ukraine, as in a massive overnight aerial assault, Russia launched 82 missiles and drones collectively, targeting critical infrastructure across Ukraine. Air defense forces successfully intercepted 57 of the incoming targets, and the attacks primarily focused on the Lviv Oblast, with Russia launching its Tu-95 planes and MiG aircraft from the occupied regions of Zaporizhia and the Belgorod Oblast. Then we'll head across to the Donbass region today, with quite a bit of fighting ongoing in this region. And most recently, Russian forces attempted a 20-vehicle push to break Ukrainian lines leading into Chasiv Yar from the south, but were obliterated over the space of 5 hours. And unrelated to this event, but in the same region, Ukrainian forces destroyed a Russian Brem-1 along with the T-72 tank that it was towing. Then to Zaporizhia as the fighting continues, not just in Robotyne, but also in Urazane. So we'll zoom in right there for that one, which is an almost forgotten about front line. With, for example, seeing the destruction of a Russian BTR-82 near the village. Although technically speaking, this is the southern Donetsk front, which, give or take, is about 10 kilometers east from the Zaporizhia front. Then, headed a bit south now, as yesterday in the Black Sea, near Crimea's western coast, a Russian Mi-24 helicopter crashed during a routine flight, according to Russia's defense ministry, with also claiming that the cause of the crash was due to a technical failure. But then, hours earlier, the Ukrainian Navy reported a Russian Ka-27 helicopter falling out of the sky over Crimea. Navy spokesperson Pletenchuk stated that an explosion on board likely preceded the crash, suggesting it wasn't solely due to technical issues. But out of all of this here, something smells like another friendly fire incident to me. Then looking around, because somewhere in the south and east, a Ukrainian RAM long-range attack UAV, known as the Ukro-Lancet, conducted a successful strike over 22 kilometers behind the front line, seen here destroying a Russian Borisoglepsk electronic warfare station. Then also in the east, we saw a Ukrainian FPV drone destroying a Russian Pol-21 electronic warfare complex. And now we'll head across to some news. Starting off, so Ukraine urgently seeks 7 additional Patriot air defense batteries to protect its cities and villages from intensified Russian attacks. As stated by Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kuleba in an interview just yesterday. Now, while President Zelensky stated that Ukraine needs 25 Patriots for complete coverage of Ukrainian airspace, Kuleba is initially focusing on securing 7 to shield the largest cities and support battlefield operations. Also, Kuleba's team identified over 100 available Patriots abroad and even offered countries to lend the systems to Ukraine, promising them in return when needed. Then, in some other news, Germany has announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, including 16 Vector UAVs, 30 RQ-35 UAVs, a bunch of mine clearers, a bunch of small arms fire as well, a small amount of NATO standard 155mm artillery shells with this latest package, and various other bits and pieces. Then in some other hardware-related news, and in a significant development, Ukraine has deployed a new electronic warfare system called the A-Petri-SV near the Avdiivka sector on the Eastern Front. The system, named after the mountain of the same name in occupied Crimea, is reportedly capable of suppressing Russian unmanned aerial vehicles for up to 20 kilometers, or about 12.5 miles, by spreading noise across all frequency bands. And so this means that it can intercept drone operator positions, prevent drones from functioning, disorient first-person view FPV drones, and in fact interfere with Russian guided aerial munitions as well. Which would in fact be a real impressive and extremely assistive feat for the AFU. Then moving across to some Russian economy news, so gasoline and diesel production in Russia declined during the first week of April, with gasoline output falling to 750,000 tons per week and diesel dropping to just under 1.5 million tons. This marks a further decrease compared to the same period in 2023, when gasoline and diesel production output was about 10% more. And if the automotive gasoline production remains at around 750,000 tons per week, then even with support from Belarus, it may not be enough to prevent significant withdrawals from storage, which should currently hold about 1.8 million tons of various gasoline types. Noting also that Kazakhstan can only offer Russia 100,000 tons, as reported by Reuters. Additionally, it should be mentioned that some refinery repairs, such as Lukoil's Nizhny Novgorod refinery, which was previously damaged in Ukrainian drone attacks, will take months to repair, with the distillation unit and the catalytic cracking unit expected to be repaired by the second half of 2024. Then in some other news, Russian nationalist Igor Girkin, convicted of extremism in January and sentenced to 4 years in prison, this is Russian prison by the way, plans to request deployment to Ukraine as a combatant. Now, Girkin, who also goes by the name Strelkov, is a former intelligence officer who played a crucial role in Russia's 2014 aggression against Ukraine. And despite current Russian laws prohibiting individuals convicted of extremism from military service, Girkin's appeal includes a letter of consent from a Russian military unit in the Donbass requesting him as a platoon commander. But to serve, he must successfully appeal his conviction. But unofficially, in Russia, jail can mean a free ticket to the frontline Storm Z Assault meat grinder units anyway. Although, nobody is yet ruling out T or window for the silencing of this dissenting voice against the Kremlin. Then headed across to a quick funny to round it all off today, guys. As you may have noticed by now, my voice, I'm coming down with something. So a shorter video, so for this funny, and hard to know exactly where to start with this one, because with locals in the Orsk and Orenburg region upset that not enough resources are being spent or allocated on the fallout from the dam breach, well, this video reportedly shows Russian priests flying above the territories that are potentially about to be flooded in their priestly attempts to try to divert the water. So, I mean, at least we can say some resource allocation is going towards an approach like this one. And as for a bit of better context here, Orthodox priests in Russia are sometimes much more seen as shamans rather than spiritual leaders. But maybe they should cast a spell on rampant Russian corruption that got them where they are in the first place. So thanks for watching, guys. That will have to be it for today. Thanks again for the likes and comments and support, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers!